6 years ago, in 2012, Jfk'S Productions were about to release a new documentary titled Remote Control: H.L. Hunt's Nation of Islam. The film was to examine the relationship between a Texas billionaire, ultra-right-wing conservative, and white supremacist named Harrelson Lafayette Hunt, and a black separatist religious leader named Elijah Muhammad, who led a group called the Nation of Islam. We worked hard on that film. We knew it was going to be a thriller. And then it happened. A filmmaker's worst nightmare. Our computer blew up, and we lost all our data just before we planned on backing everything up. We were depressed, and we considered checking into a mental hospital, not as individuals, but as a group. The relationship with H.L. Hunt and Elijah Muhammad was briefly covered on February 15, 1965, just days before Malcolm X would be assassinated. Malcolm only tapped on it lightly, but planned to completely break it down on February 21, 1965, according to Earl Grant and Robert L. Haggins, two of Malcolm's close associates. Grant and Haggins informed filmmaker Jfk'S that Malcolm was going to prove that H.L. Hunt owned Elijah Muhammad and the 1965 version of the Nation of Islam. If Malcolm was allowed to speak in more detail about how Elijah Muhammad was able to maintain 2 large mansions, 2 automobiles, several apartment complexes, keep up on the rent and maintenance of dozens of temples throughout America, plus pay his ministers and laborers a monthly fee, a whole lot of receipts would have to be shown. Elijah was hitting Malcolm off alone with $1,000 a month. Here's Malcolm speaking on H.L. Hunt and Elijah.
And I guess many of you have heard it said that his financial support comes from a rich man in Texas. I heard that while I was in the movement. I've heard it more since I left the movement. A rich man in Texas. You can look up, any of you can look up his name. But the FBI knows that too. But they still don't touch him. And never have I seen a man, and this rich man who lives in Texas, by the way, lives in Dallas. His headquarters in Dallas. His money is in Dallas. The same cities where President John F. Kennedy was assassinated. And never have I seen a man in my life more afraid, more frightened than Elijah Muhammad was when John F. Kennedy was assassinated. I've never in my life seen a man as frightened as he was. And when I made the statement that I did, why, he almost cracked up behind it, because there were all kinds of implications to it that at that time were way above and beyond my understanding.
You see, if Malcolm said it, damn it, then it's the truth. Why? Because the man was constitutionally built to tell the truth, unlike his detractors who suffered from liabilities. Though we didn't finish our film on H.L. Hunt and Elijah Muhammad, we must pull your coat to a 1973 movie about the JFK assassination called Executive Action that starred Burt Lancaster, Robert Ryan, Will Geer, and others. The movie is about the ruthless cabal who assembled to murder President John F. Kennedy. In the book Malcolm X, The Man at His Times, Earl Grant refers to the cabal as the old ones. Grant points out how these political assassinations are always carried out with rehearsals and practice, as in Malcolm's case, inside the Autobahn ballroom. The old ones in the power structure that act in this stunning motion picture are ready to carry out the assassination, but they need the financial support of someone with an inexhaustible reserve of money for a payroll for all the participants. The man who will finance the hit is played by actor Will Geer, portrayed as H.L. Hunt. Here's some brief clips from the movie that show the cabal trying to convince H.L. Hunt, referred to as Harold in the movie, that the hit on Kennedy was necessary and they needed him to finance the hit.
Wait a minute, Professor. He's appointed Republicans to the Treasury, to the Navy. Another is head of the CIA. My brother Bobby worked on Joe McCarthy's committee. The old man is further to the right than I am.
Ancient history, Harold. The man's come out for cuts on the oil depletion allowance. He's stopping mergers under the Antitrust Act. He promises to close down 52 domestic and 25 overseas military bases.
What about the Secret Service?
They give the president less protection than any other head of state on earth. De Gaulle travels surrounded by 47 motorcycles. Kennedy with 8, sometimes 10. And none between him and the crowds on the sidewalk. When a Soviet motorcade passes a 10-story building, there's a separate agent to watch each floor. Now, in Jack's motorcades, the agents often travel inside of closed cars. They can't see a damn thing.
And they're paid less than the FBI.
The first 25 minutes of the movie shows the cabal trying to convince H.L. Hunt that Kennedy needed to be clipped. But they hadn't convinced Harold yet. And then one night, Harold was watching TV, and he heard Kennedy say some stuff that he didn't dig. And after that, Harold got on the horn and made that call.
Yes, Robert, I can see your point. I'm in complete agreement. By all means, go ahead.
And after that, it was Good Night, Irene. The remaining portion of the movie will make the hair on the back of your neck curl. There's disclaimers at the beginning and end of the movie that says, although much of this film is fiction, much of it is also based on documented historical fact. Apart from historical film, all characters in the film are fictitious. Any similarity to actual persons, living or dead, is purely coincidental. You want to start thinking about what might have happened between Elijah and Malcolm? Then you don't want to miss this motion picture.
And I guess many of you have heard it said that his financial support comes from a rich man in Texas.